Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the special edition of On the Road Show. I'm your host, Vidad. Here with me, my special guest today, Scott Wohlers, joining me from Minneapolis. Scott, good to have you on the show. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, good morning, Vidad. Great to see you again.
Good to see you too, man. This is gonna be a very specific episode, which makes me have mixed feelings. Ladies and gentlemen, with us here today, one of the most experienced and one of the most efficient drivers in BHX fleet. We're also marking a day when Mr. Scott is actually leaving the fleet. He will be on absence. Scott, we will touch base on that later on. I just wanted to get your story a little closer to my audience. You joined BHX in May 2021, isn't that right?
That is correct, sir. Yep.
So almost 2.5 years now, Scott. That's a lot of time. You've been through a lot of changes with BHX. So how would you describe the time that you have spent with the company? What are the most memorable moments that you would keep?
Oh man, the most memorable moments are probably have to do with the personal. I mean, everybody goes through the driving, right? But the personal relationships that we've built with you and Aldine, from Irfan to Haris. I don't want to leave anybody out, but from a professional side and a personal side, being able to work with such wonderful people has been actually the best experience for me. Yep.
I'm definitely glad to hear that. It's actually one of the hot topics in our industry today, right? Making the connection, building a bridge between dispatch and drivers, a key formula for success in this business, bringing us all on the same page and bringing us all together for our mutual mission to succeed in this industry. Now, what are the best characteristics? What are the best values that you recognized while working with our dispatch team in particular?
I'm not exactly sure what you're getting at. Is like what I appreciated out of you guys, or what friendliness, promptness, courtesy, professional. I mean, yeah, there's just from top to bottom. I got nothing but excellent things to say. Yep.
Thank you very much, Scott. Thank you very much. Scott, let's try to bring the story of Scott. Let's try to get a little on the personal side. Many of our drivers will be watching this, and they will want to hear your story. Now, tell us a bit about Scott. How did Scott get into driving? What made Scott make this choice? When did this start originally?
Originally, I had actually worked with Bolt Express a few years ago. That was my first experience getting into the expedite. Previous to that, I've been a local courier driver in Minneapolis for a number of years. So I dispatched dispatch manager for a local courier company, drove thousands and thousands and thousands of miles. So that's kind of what got me into the transportation industry to begin with, and then it was a chance meeting with Ahmed. And I forget his driver number, but it was pretty low. He was like one of the originals. I think it was driver 7, 10, 12. I don't know. He had been around for quite a while. And I met him at a company in the north suburbs of Minneapolis. And he was nice enough to spend a good 10, 15 minutes with me. And I could tell he was tired, right? He had probably driven all day, and actually gave me a good chunk of his time, 10, 15 minutes. I asked him about the company, how happy he was, how many miles, and so that was kind of the initiation to BHX. I guess that was my first formal introduction to the company. Yeah.
Right.
And then just to add one more thing, and then after speaking with Ahmed, Aldine. I had called, to get somewhere, get the official information from the company, right? And Aldine, same thing. He gave me a good 20 minutes to 30 minutes of his, obviously he's super busy, right? Being the owner, manager, operator, everything, right?
Yeah.
Actually gave me 20 to 30 minutes of his personal time to answer like every, we talked about everything, right? And that, just kind of blew me away. It's like, to talk to, like the head person actually give you, 30 minutes of their personal time, really kind of sealed the deal for me. Yeah,
That made the ends meet.
absolutely. I was really impressed.
Good to know. Good to know. Scott, you have done a lot of loads with VHX. I like to ask drivers this question: what was your favorite load that you have done during your stay in VHX, and why? What made it stand out?
Oh man, that is a really difficult question, sir.
One that
Um,
makes you think.
what makes me think? It was probably a load out to Montana or a load to like the Ogden, Salt Lake City area. And we just, a lot of it was just like apprehension. It's like, okay, I'm going, like my first time out west, right? It's like, well, it's going to be 4, 5, 6 days before I get a load, that type of thing, right? I was excited to go out because, it's absolutely beautiful out there, right? I mean, I would move out there in a heartbeat. But yeah, so I get probably the first time out west was maybe one of the most memorable, just, the apprehension, excitement, and yep.
And you said you do have plans to revisit some of those places in the coming weeks, right? In
Yeah,
Montana.
I'm hoping maybe to get out to Montana, maybe not quite that far, Rapid City, South Dakota, but yeah, that area out there is, Ogden, Utah, like Salt Lake City, that area is just absolutely incredible. I mean, you park, at like Pilot or any one of the areas out there, and like 10 minutes away from the bottom of the foothills of the mountains. So, you wake up in the morning, 10-minute drive, and boom, I mean, you're in some beautiful hiking terrain. You don't have to drive for like 2 hours. It's just like right there. So
Right. Right.
absolutely.
It
Yep.
sounds like you have a very interesting bucket list right there. I gotta admit that it made me very curious. Hopefully, you get to share some of the photos with us just to see those beauties. Um, you mentioned hiking, and I want to ask this. I wanna understand, how do you spend your free time? Every driver has their own pattern. They have their own plans, how they spend free time, how they prepare for the upcoming trips, and so on. What do you do in free time? How do you utilize your time? Is there?
Well,
Mhm.
given my age, a lot of it was sleeping, which maybe doesn't come as a surprise, right? So I always look forward to get the delivery on, right? I would call you sometimes, like, can I get authorization to go? Because I didn't want to wake up at 4 in the morning. If I can get this thing off at like 10 o'clock, then I can go to sleep, right? So I'm
We're
sure
lucky.
maybe
We're
a little
lucky
bit
to have most
couple
of
times.
those, most
So
of
that was
those approved,
the
right?
first order of business was to get the damn load off and then get to bed. But and then beyond that, I also like to trade the financial markets. So had my laptop and tablet and whatnot. So
Scott, you mentioned financial markets. It caught my attention. I used to be interested in those in the past. Then I kind of uh, gave up, let's say, around the time when COVID started. Uh, Give us some tips, man. You're informed when it comes to this. What do you do there? What do you trade for?
really can't give any tips other than like expediting is one of the most difficult pastime I don't know, probably don't even want to call it a pastime, right? If you're gonna jump in, yeah, you really need, either it's like going to the casino, right, where you're just kind of dumping money in. If you win, you lose, whatever type of thing. But if you're really risking money, then you really want to take it a little more serious, because it's definitely one of the most difficult things I've ever tried to take on. So,
Right.
um, one thing I would suggest is there is a charting service. At a very basic level, it's free. It's called Trading View,
Mhm.
and that allows you kind of get like a really good start with like technical analysis and looking at charts over, it really can pull up like, historical prices, probably 10, 20, 30 years, like if you wanted to check historical price of like gold or crude oil, whatever, you could just hop on free account, and yeah, you can pull up quite a lot of information. And they also
Right.
have some good like a social network too, right, where people are sharing ideas, and there's like a message board. And so yeah, great platform. I would definitely suggest the hopping on TradingView. Yep.
Right. Which one would you give more priority to? Examining the historical trends of a certain commodity versus monitoring events in the world to determine what might be the next move on the market?
For long-term analysis, I would definitely go with the latter. But for actual, like trading in and out, trying to make, informed decisions, definitely don't. I would definitely say don't trade the news, right? Um,
Right.
by the time it's coming across the news wire, there's
Too
thousands of,
many, too many
well,
people on the boat.
thousands of people, analysts, and AI. Now you're competing against computers. All the information that you get is probably 2 or 3 weeks old by the time it comes across the media, right? So everybody else that's in the know have been in the know for weeks, and by the time the news comes out, it's old
Right.
news. Really difficult to use that to your advantage. So I would definitely that's where the charting service comes in, where you can kind of, you
Right.
the price tells everything, right? I mean, price is everything. If it's going up, it's going down, rather than trying to guess, right? You can actually see it for your own eyes, right? When crude oil or gas prices, goes up to $4 per gallon or whatever, right? That's the information that you need to deal with, not trying to, like project what, you know,
Right.
well,
When
gas
I
is way
used
too
to, Mhm.
now, it has to come down. And, you'll lose a lot of money that way.
Yeah.
Putting your personal beliefs into something like that will get you in a lot of trouble.
Right. Right. No, when we used to analyze the markets, we obviously knew one golden rule. By the time it hits the news, too many people are in on it, so it's already late. Um,
Correct. Yep.
it was a key advantage to know something ahead of ahead of the masses, ahead of the general public. So we would always dig for some information from reliable sources. Anyways, you're a passionate reader as well, Scott. What do you read? What are your favorite books? What are you into?
I like his, I guess, history, World War II in particular. In fact, I can. They got my phone set up on a couple books out of my library right there, and I got
There
another
we
one
go.
like right here too, Columbia History of the World. Love that book. So I just kind of grabbed a couple things off my shelf to put my phone on. That's what I'm talking to you on top of a stack of books here.
Ladies
So
and gentlemen, we just had
World War
a
II, I guess in general, I also like fantasy fiction, Tolkien, Lord of the Rings type of stuff. So that's another favorite of mine. Yep.
good, and we just had a view into Scott's personal library. Uh, I believe you take a book or two on a trip, don't you?
I do. Yep. Last one that I had, I think, in my bag was Scottish folklore. Was really interesting. So I like all that mythology and Celtic, and yes, all the
Right. Is that what you do when you get close to the delivery by 11 p.m. and then you got to do something until the morning appointment and the load cannot drop in the evening? Is that what happens?
Sometimes.
I figured. I figured that. Yeah, I figured. Uh, I wanna place more focus on. I'm gonna bring the story back to BHX and the loads. Self-dispatch mode. First of all, I want to explain to our viewers, as some people may not be fully familiar. It's a specific bidding mode in Milestone application, which allows drivers to check all of the load opportunities that come in their areas and deliver to the areas that they enabled for self-dispatch mode, and place their very own bids on those loads if they are interested. Now, Scott, you have been the most efficient driver when it comes to self-dispatch mode. In fact, a vast majority of the loads that you did with BHX were self-dispatch mode. What was your approach here? You said when we spoke before the show, there was a learning curve. How did that process specifically go? What did you rely on to get to these results?
Relied upon past experience, right? So if you're a new driver and you don't have a lot of experience and haven't worked for maybe another company or whatever, I would definitely stick to the dispatch crew for like 6 months to a year. And that way you really learn like the areas where you want to go, areas that are super busy. You get a feel for the rates, right? So, like I said, when I went out to Montana and Salt Lake City, right? I mean, if you want to try and get like $1.10 out of there, it's like good luck, right? You probably sit out there for a month, right? You never get it, you never get a load, right? So, um, so having that base, right? Learning from previous being dispatched too, right? Is the greatest learning tool to begin with, yeah. And then from there, um, yeah, it was just kind of experimenting, right? The first 2 months were like, really difficult, right? Because um, depending on, location, city, maybe you're out in the country, maybe you're, 20, 30, 40 miles from a good area, so yeah, it was just a very difficult learning curve. And then I would have kind of like a game plan, right? Kind of, I would, depending where I was, if I was like in Indianapolis, whatever, sky's kind of the limit, right? I knew there would be, 10, 12, 13, Chicago, same thing. Like when you're in a really good area, you're going to have choices to go. But you get down to Mississippi or Louisiana, whatever, then you have to be a little more flexible and, uh, realistic
Time.
with your rate expectation, right? Does that make
Right,
sense?
right. I believe you have had days, or let's say situations, where you had to place more bids than you had to place significantly more bids than usual in order to get booked, right?
Yeah, definitely were some frustrating days, especially, like you're in a really busy area, wherever you think, no problem, right? Yeah, there were days that I would say, I should have kept stats right on like the most bids. I definitely were days where I placed like 20 to 24 bids before yeah, you just got to be persistent and trusting, and that's where you guys come in. That's where the professionalism and the courtesy and knowing the people in the office are actually doing bidding my bids, right? Like, I'm putting my trust in you guys that you're actually forwarding forwarding my bids, right? So that's where the person, like when we started out the beginning of this conversation, it's like that was like the most important thing, right? I
Right,
had complete faith and confidence in you guys when I placed my bids, that I knew that I had 100% confidence that they were going through. And it was just, sometimes you do, sometimes you just have those really frustrating days, like, you know Like I'm in Cincinnati and I've placed like 20 bids. Like, what is going on, right? And
Right.
then all of a sudden, boom, right? That 21st bid, you finally, you finally get something. So yeah, definitely some difficult, frustrating days, but in the end, it all works out.
Right. I realized one thing. Never let the panic knock on your door. And I like to convey this message to the drivers. There will be days when it's somewhat more difficult to book a load than on a normal days. That kind of situation comes around from time to time, and we need to remain persistent in those situations, as you said earlier. And I wanted to underline this part of conversation specifically to new drivers out there who are trying to place bids on their own, not to give up if they're placing more bids on specific day and it's not going according to the plan. Just to remain persistent and play with the market, try different approaches, and also count on the dispatch support, because after all, we are there, we're monitoring the bids, we're communicating with customers, and we monitor how the prices change throughout the day. um, Scott, what's the most challenging thing, or what was the most challenging thing for you as a driver out there on the road?
The most challenging thing for me is probably dealing with extra heavy traffic and construction zone. In fact, just yesterday, like we were talking on the phone when you called me last night, though, probably one of my most difficult and challenging drives from Chicago through Wisconsin into Minnesota. And I can't remember time. And like I said, I've been a local courier driver here in the area for a long time too. The traffic was just super heavy, right? Going through like Wisconsin Dells, going through Madison. I mean, all the way from Chicago basically to Minneapolis. So it was absolutely crazy, almost bumper to bumper, people driving crazy. And then 2 or 3 construction zones on the way. And then there were 2 in Minneapolis on the way. So yesterday actually might have been my most, even though it wasn't that long, right? It was only about 6.5 hour drive, but yeah, very, very stressful and very difficult day yesterday. Yep.
Right. Um, Sometimes people tell me that weather is usually what frustrates them the most. Sometimes the answer is the traffic. So I like to hear how people see their challenges, and what
Yeah,
are the different
the weather.
perspectives on it.
I remember meeting up with Arnell and his gal up in Saskatoon, and we both drove through the same ice storm last year. Hello, Arnell. Haven't seen quite a while, but yeah, it was. So I think I set off from like Fargo, and I should know, right? But by the time I almost got to North Portal, right where the crossing is, the roads just started getting just absolutely horrible. There was like an inch of ice on the road, and it was like that all the way to Saskatoon. So what should have been like a 5 hour drive ended up being like a 10 hour jaunt. It was like 30 miles an hour for 10 hours was, yeah, well, that was definitely one of the most difficult drives that I've personally ever done. Yeah, that was a tough day. It wasn't so much frustrating, right? It was just,
Right. What's
wanting
the
to be go 60, right, or 70, or whatever you want to be going the speed limit to, get to your destination. But there was no way. I mean, the conditions were so horrible. The icy roads, and then the wind, blowing snow. So yeah, that definitely, yeah, it definitely can understand the weather part of it too. Yep.
Right. I mean, what's the guy got to do in such situation? You just got to drive slow and hope that everything is going to stay under control,
Yep.
right? You don't have a lot of choices there.
You don't have a lot of choices, and yeah, like when you get up in that area, there aren't, you know, especially when you can't see, especially when the visibility is horrible, there really isn't anywhere to pull off, right? safely, right? So you could pull off, but your chances of getting rear-ended by, a semi that doesn't see you, gets pretty gets pretty dicey. So your best bet is just to keep on moving forward at a slow pace, and then if you can find like a truck stop, if you're really that uncomfortable. And it was horrible. The wind was so bad that I think we both talked to Arnell and I were up in Saskatoon talking about the conditions, and both of us were almost blown off the road. Probably, I definitely half a dozen times where you just didn't have any control. Right, you're holding onto the steering wheel, you're going really slow, right, 25, 30 miles an hour, and the wind is just starting to push you, into the ditch, right? And there's nothing you can do. You don't want to hit the brakes. You don't, when you're driving in conditions that are so horrible, you don't want to make any sudden moves, right? You don't want to turn the steering wheel. You don't want to hit the brakes. The wind blows you, it blows you, right? There's just nothing you can do. But if you start, steering hard or hit the brakes hard, then you're done. You'll be in the ditch within seconds, right? So you just best to maintain a slow, steady pace and let the if it happens, it happens, right? At least you did what you could at that point. Yep.
That story, man. I'm recollecting some of the stories and experiences that other drivers passed to me. Every winter, whenever we go into that part of the continent, uh, situation is challenging. The road conditions, the winds. Um, I heard from somebody this winter they were going to Winnipeg, and they shared a picture with me with a semi that flipped over, and I can imagine the discomfort and that feeling in a driver that passes by a semi that got flipped, and it's not you know that level of concern, and regardless of how experienced the driver is, it's not a simple situation to handle. So full credit to you guys for having the strength and courage to handle those situations and go into those parts. Not many people can pull that off.
Yep. They're definitely difficult. I think last winter it was definitely the most difficult winter that I've ever driven to. I sent you guys some pictures like north of I think it was Des Moines or Iowa City, something like that. And there were, a good 12 semis in the ditch north. I think it was Iowa City, actually. Worst I've ever seen it. Yep.
Right. I mean, regarding Saskatoon now, I heard stories from drivers. You go there and it's that cold that you got to keep the van running, unless you want to get your oil frozen inside of the van.
I guess, it depends if you've got a diesel or a gas. I guess kind of took my chances. I had a little mini diesel heater inside the back of the van, so I'd turn that on for maybe a couple hours, and then I had enough layers, I guess, right between the sleeping bag and 2 or 3 layers of blankets, whatever. So I would turn on the heater, open the laptop or whatever, get some of my work done, and then if I got tired or whatever, I would just hop under the covers for a while. But when it's minus 20 in the back of a van, you don't have insulation, and it's cold.
Right. Yeah. People people told me before, they're like, I gotta find a hotel with a proper garage, because I need to take sleep, but I also need to keep the van running. So I need a safe spot to leave the van running. And this was when I joined BHX, and I was still kind of learning, about these things. And I learned that people actually leave the vans running in winter in Saskatoon. Otherwise, there is a chance of oil freezing, and then that's a big problem. Um, Scott, what's your favorite part of United States or Canada?
Favorite part is definitely, I would say Utah. Definitely, I'm like a big forest guy, so like Western Montana would be like my dream area, I guess, because we got mountains and some lakes and forests and whatnot. But the beauty of Utah as a whole is just really hard to describe unless you go there, right? The colors, the mountains, it's just, yeah, it's totally unique. Yeah.
Right.
So I would say Utah. Real, I always love going to Salt Lake City and Ogden. Yeah, that was definitely my favorite place to hop. God, you guys would always lose me for a day because I had to had to park the van and get out and do some hiking up in the mountains. Especially being from Minneapolis, where we're flatlanders here. We got pretty much like Iowa, it's flat. So anytime I get a chance to get out in the mountains and was just absolutely wonderful. Yeah.
Amazing. If I was to visit Utah right now, what's the must-see place for me to visit?
Oh man, you know what? That's a tough one because I'm sure there's a lot of places that I
Competition is hot.
right. I don't know if I've got like a must to because I'm sure there's places that I would miss, but you can't go wrong with like going to like I said, Salt Lake City, Ogden. Um, there are just miles of mountains, and you get a hotel or whatever, you just 10 minutes, right? And you don't have to drive and drive and drive to get somewhere absolutely beautiful. It's just everything is just right there. Like everything is built. All the residential areas, whatever, are just like built almost into the bottom of the foothills of the mountains. So yeah, I would definitely, you can't go wrong going there. And then the cities themselves are clean. Yeah, it's just Salt Lake City is like a beautiful area, and everything, like I said, is just convenient. Right, you don't have to travel for miles and miles. You 10 minutes out of town, park the car, and you're up. You know,
Right. I knew when you started with Utah, Montana, I knew it wasn't gonna be about loads. It had to be about nature,
Mhm.
definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
As
Nice to get
yeah,
right, New York and Philly and Baltimore and that, it's just, you're out there, right?
a
Out in
lot
the
of
wilderness.
a lot of outsiders when they think about us, I feel like most of the one of the first things that come into people's minds are the things that they see in movies, LA, San Francisco, New York, but US has a lot of natural beauties. Would you agree? You mentioned you do watch movies a lot. Would you agree with a statement that natural beauties of US are not getting enough presence in the movies?
Yeah, I think so. I think like I haven't traveled. I've actually traveled to Europe, and Europe is absolutely beautiful too. But the U.S. has just an immense amount of variety. Like from Maine up in the Northeast, where it's just lush, thick, you know, heavy wooded area, and then you've got the beauty of Vermont and New Hampshire area, and then you know down to like Arizona, New Mexico. You just there, uh, prairies in between. There's that. There is beauty in a cornfield type of thing. The variety is just absolutely incredible. Yeah.
Right,
Yep.
right. I mean, from East Coast all the way to West, you get to pass through different terrains,
Yeah.
different climates, different time zones, right? There's,
Yeah.
you know,
Absolutely.
there's a lot to see and experience. So I do hope to visit US one day, and with such a great and big country that has so much to offer, I'm not sure what would be on my bucket list. That's something to think about. So, you mentioned you visited Europe. Now, where have you been in Europe?
Oh, when I got out of college, I did the typical uh, get the U-Rail pass type thing, right? And grab a backpack and traveled for about 3 months. So I got to see not quite everything. And in fact, when I went, it was still during the communist era, right? So it
Wow.
was couldn't get into like Yugoslavia and East, East Germany type of thing. So it was, it was definitely, it's a different world we live in today, right? It's just absolutely unbelievable. Yeah, I got through Norway and Denmark and Germany, down to Italy, um, Greece, France, Spain, absolutely love Luxembourg. Uh, so yeah, it was fantastic. Yeah,
You've
and I love the architect. I love all the history, and the museums are unparalleled. They're probably one thing that you don't get in the U.S. compared to like Europe, right? The castles and the history, and the
medieval.
art museums. Yeah, Europe is just absolutely incredible in that regard. Yep.
Right. Just carefully listening to the places that you're mentioning. I mean, the countries that you visited back then. You have gone all around us, but you haven't visited the spot, right? You haven't visited.
Okay. Uh, Days over the next couple years before I get too old, right? But
Yeah.
yeah, I've seen some pictures, and it absolutely looks gorgeous. So hopefully,
Right. Scott, you did mention to me yesterday when we were talking about it. You did mention there is a chance that you would visit Bosnia and RBS office specifically. So I want to get people excited. I'm not gonna ask you for any kind of estimate. Don't worry about that. But it has to happen, right? It's booked to happen.
it is. Yep.
Yeah. We actually, we had several drivers from BHX visit us. Those were obviously mostly Bosnian drivers that would come here to visit their families, and they would usually stop by because our office is right by the international airport in the capital city. So uh, most of the flights land there. So it's on their way. Wherever they go in Bosnia, it's on their way to stop by our office. So whoever visits Bosnia, we always like to say, here is our address. Come over. Meet the team in person. It's a whole different experience when you meet your dispatchers face to face, and then we're gonna make sure we make that day one to remember. So, whatever you do in the future, if you happen to be visiting this part of Europe, stop by Bosnia, stop by our office, let us know, and we'll definitely have some great time here.
Yep. Sounds awesome, man. Yep.
I'm not fully convinced that like that sounded as a yes, but I'll take your word on it and I'll follow up with you on it. Okay.
And it will be it'll be a definite. Yep.
Okay. Like I said in the beginning, what makes this episode specific is that there is this bright side of us talking about the results and achievements of you as a driver in a period of time that you spent with BHX. Now, we did say you have made your plans to leave and spend some time with your family. You wanna give yourself good rest and focus on other things, which of course makes all of us in the office sad to kind of lose you for whatever amount of time that is. Now, I wanted to just get this part of the story closer to our audience. What's next for Scott? What's Scott got to do next?
Probably. Well, not probably. Go back to local courier work for a while. Still got plenty of payments to make on the van, so that's the near future anyway, right? The big plans would be to become a professional trader, right? That would be the ultimate. Proving to be a tough nut to crack.
Right.
But it's something that I've been working on for like 6 or 7 years. It's been like a really long, difficult process, but kind of like the self dispatching, right? Like, I'm not going to give up. I'm going to figure this out, type of thing. And so that's kind of the dream, right? Is to have complete, not really to get rich, but just independence, right? but we'll see.
Right. Right. There's one difference between self-dispatch and self-trading. In self-trading, you won't see the recommended rate. You mentioned you have
Nobody
some work.
by
Yeah, go ahead.
yourself.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I got to say, yeah, there's nobody there telling you when to buy or sell. Correct. Yep.
Yeah,
There's no,
exactly.
you guys were an immense help. Yeah, obviously. Yep.
Yeah. Um, Scott, you mentioned there will be some works on the van, which obviously hints that at some point you would be back. And a lot of people instantly ask me, well, when is he gonna be back? Well, I don't know. I gotta ask the guy. So, what exactly?
I get rid of this. Has got to go. See this?
Oh, there we go.
That's like one of the first things. So I've got my workout equipment there. I got my weights.
There we
Yep.
go. Personal
Got
gym.
yoga. So the first order of business is to kind of get myself back into shape again.
I have some great 8-week programs, so we can expedite the process if you're down for that. You said you're gonna have some great time with your family as well. You guys wanna do some traveling. Is that gonna be mostly around U.S. or is there a plan to go abroad as well?
Yeah, just local. Yep.
Mhm.
Definitely get some more hiking in, and yeah, absolutely. But yeah, most of it just it won't be outside the US. It'll be mostly just local.
Right, right.
Yep.
I'm always happy to hear when drivers mention that they will be spending some time with family, because one of the most difficult things about this job is you're actually staying away from your loved ones when you're at work. That's how driving is, right? You're on the road, you're far away from your people, and it's never easy to be in that kind of situation.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It takes a special breed of person, I think, to be out there. The drivers that have been with you guys for like 5, 6, 7, 8 years. Um, total admiration for those people because yeah, it's a sacrifice. Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. I try to imagine that, I've had a short-term situation of my own, uh, something like that when I was separated from my family, and that's just me, experiencing that for one single time in my life. Now, imagining how drivers go through that every week or every day is just insane. So hats off to every driver out there for handling that kind of feeling and concern for their family while they are away. Um, Scott, a lot of people are going to be watching this, BHX dispatch team, drivers, experienced ones, the new ones, their friends and families, most likely. I want to ask, what's your message to everyone in the team, everyone in the fleet? Is there any specific tip? Is there anything you want to pass on to these guys? That could help them in their journey to get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say, like, as we talked about earlier, um, in the beginning, I would, yeah, definitely spend 6 months learning the ropes, right? Just let the dispatchers do the work for you in the beginning and learn, right? Pay attention, look at the rates that you're giving, keep notes, right? How many days, sometimes you're going to sit empty. It doesn't matter if you're self-dispatching or if you got dispatcher help or whatever, right? So just, yeah, learn areas, learn traffic patterns, seasonal patterns, right? Weather patterns, that type of thing. So spend a good 6, 8 months just being dispatched too, right? If you have thoughts of, self-dispatching, whatever, definitely go that go that route. Yeah, no,
Right.
definitely lay like a base of information for you to build off of, right? Then when you decide to make that next jump or you want to, take like full control over, your dispatching and looking at all loads that come across, then you'll have that knowledge base to build off of, right? Does that make sense?
Indeed.
Yep.
Indeed. Scott, thank you very much. I wanna take this particular opportunity right now, on behalf of the entire BHX team, the dispatch team, the management of the company. I wanna thank you for your cooperation, your professionalism, for your efficiency, on all of the loads and every situation that we have been through together. We absolutely wish you the best in whatever path you take moving forward. We would love to see you back. I'm as you can see, I'm already trying to make some things behind the scenes, to get you back sooner. But we absolutely look forward to the day, to come and hear from you that you'll be coming back. If not, we'll be filming the next on the road with you from Bosnia, I hope.
All
Yeah.
right, man. Really appreciate it. And you guys have been absolutely incredible to work with from, top to bottom, from, customer service gals to the dispatchers to Aldine. It's been nothing but professionalism and courtesy, friendliness, helpfulness. Probably not enough adjectives in my vocabulary to express how what a wonderful experience it was working with you guys. It was just absolutely incredible. Not enough good things to say. No issues, right? I had like one issue, but it wasn't like it had nothing to do with you guys. It was just a customer broker type of issue where out of both of our so like one out of what, I don't know how many deliveries they did, a couple hundred, 2, 3, 4, 500, right? Whatever,
Yeah.
right? This is one issue out of, 2.5, and that was really minor, right? It was
Yeah.
just a thing. So, yeah, it was just like I said, nothing bad to say and nothing but good, incredible memories that I will always cherish. If it comes to the point where I don't end up coming back, whatever, this will be one of the most cherished moments of my lifetime. Actually, it was absolutely incredible. Yep.
Right, right. Happy to hear that. And thank you very much, Scott, for your compliments. I definitely look forward to us staying in touch. There are a lot of subjects there to discuss, man. And I'll probably hit you up if my trip to US comes to realization someday. I want to know what's good for me to visit as a first time visitor. Scott, thank you very much for making the time to come to the show and to pass all of your experiences to everyone out there watching this right now. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you as well for sitting throughout this video. Thank you for joining us, and I'll see you all on the next On the Road show. In the meantime, stay safe out there and have a great day.